Hey everyone, we have a new guest, a new challenger.
What? Where?
Who?
You.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, Fear Dragon joining us on the cast. So hello, Fear Dragon. How you doing, man?
I'm doing quite wonderful today. I am very ready for some StarCraft.
Did you have a good day?
I had a day as amazing as Hendralisk's face.
Would you say then that your day was blessed?
Bless you.
Bless you.
Oh, the witty
Hello?
banter. Banter.
Hello?
Hello?
A yogurt in my mouth.
Can
Hello?
you hear me? Hello?
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 Hi. I'm gonna join off of Kelazhur.
I can leave. I can leave right now, okay?
That's
I don't have
true.
to put up with this.
By the way, Kelazhur messaged me asking if you want us to host with the WCS mod, and I said, oh god, please. So he did, and that's great. Yay! And look,
Yay!
it's the lighter
Yeah.
version.
Yay! Everything went
Kelazhur's
well.
amazing.
Yay! Okay, so it's again to recap if you haven't been around. Fear Dragon's on the call now, and then after this best of 3, our plan is to just bounce because we gotta cast the Alima League in just 8 hours now.
Yeah, so you guys get a bit of a tri-cast. We'll see how spicy it gets, but after this, it'll be all Fear Dragon for the rest of the qualifiers, which I know you're actually pretty excited about, right? Because it's a lot of your hometown heroes versus the rest of the
Oh
world.
yeah, you know,
as
all
turns
those
out.
North Americans that are like doing so well right now
Well,
in this
no.
qualifier.
That wasn't even sarcastic. I thought you would actually be super stoked to see how people like Kelazhur
I
won
was
that
super
Copa against Joko.
stoked. I was super stoked to see the North Americans today. And then I looked at the bracket when I got home from work.
So I guess let's do the intros first. I'm gonna delve into that later. First game on Frost in the top right as the Red Terran. He's Roots Kelazhur.
And spawning opposite. In the bottom right, it's going to be the pink Zerg player, Envious is Violet.
So I guess a little bit of joking aside, are you actually super disappointed? I kind of touched on this when we first got into the cast about the way the brackets were even seeded, as the Europeans all got the seeds, except for Masa, Violet, and Hydra. Basically, Bales and Semper got screwed, as well as like a couple others. You're actually a little bit frustrated with this, Fear Dragon?
I mean, I haven't had a chance to like really in-depth look at the bracket and the way that things ended up going out and like how the seating and stuff worked, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like I looked at like what the current top or the round of 16 was, and I was like, oh, I mean,
Well, for
that's-
you gotta be kind of happy. I mean, we already see 2 North Americans actually get through, right? You got Scarlet and Neve, they won the Passport qualifiers. So there are actual North Americans that are going to be representing at Copa Mexico or Copa Intercontinental. But what I find really interesting is, first off, the seeding thing aside, because that was kind of funny. I actually think there are quite a few of these North Americans that will take on the Europeans. And as Zomgrab said, the Europeans seem to have gotten the seeds. They may have done that based on WCS points, because let's be honest, a lot of the Europeans have more WCS points than North Americans. But I actually totally think people like Masa will give Bly a run for his money. A laser might not win the bottom side of the bracket if Major knocks out you Thermal. Like, even though there's a lot of really scary European names on here, that doesn't guarantee that they're actually going to walk over the North Americans.
no, that's not actually at all what I was talking about. To me, I feel like there are a lot of North Americans missing.
That is kind of true too. I mean,
And I think a lot of the reason for that, by the way, is because today is the day a lot of United States universities started.
so yeah, I was gonna.
So like Peely, for example, I saw that he checked in and like he just didn't show up for either of his matches because he was at school.
Yeah. I guess university, it would be a little unfortunate that they had a class on this because colleges are, all day long. But I think it's also why Puck didn't join. First day in class, you have all 4 classes, you get all the homework and shit. Maybe you decide not to participate in a qualifier, especially if you see the bracket look like the way it is. I don't know, but it is it's always something to consider for the North Americans. And that's why the Europeans are especially tempted by these brackets. They're usually smaller, but they're especially smaller because of the reasons you're talking about.
Well, I am really interested to see how this game is going to go, though, because these two guys have actually, I think they faced off against each other fairly recently. But Violet, as I think you guys also mentioned earlier, has definitely been on a bit of a storm lately, and he wasn't exactly the player that a lot of people, let's be real, like respected all that much until I think his really sick run at a recent premier event.
Yeah, and I mean that first game versus Zaki was very much so like it felt like a warm-up. You know, he made a mistake. He, you know, mis-scouted and was a little confident in a wrong choice. But then he looked much stronger game after game with Zake. And a different matchup here against a friendlier phase 2. I don't think Violet and Zake are very, like, you know, facing each other on ladder all the time. But we were definitely excited to cast. Violet has been on the up and up, but so has Kelazhur. And he is one of the North American hopes. The, I guess, born in North America. Well, where is actually used to be from exactly?
Born in Florida,
there
raised
you go.
in Brazil, moved back to the United States a few years ago.
Check out that knowledge, man. That's why Fear Dragon does these casts.
I literally interviewed him for 2 hours.
There you go.
Speaking of like where people are from and stuff, actually Violet, so following up on that tweet you made earlier about the frustration with the citizenship lock and requirements for passports and all that, I guess, you know, he's really upset because he's been in the United States for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And he, unlike players who have been here and constantly go back to Korea, Violet's only really gone back to Korea for a couple of moments where he had, I know, sickness, a family emergency, and something else. For the most part, he's been in America for 5 years straight.
Yeah. I know I keep bringing up like the born and raised as if it's something to hold over, loom over Hydra, Violet, and I guess Pulp, but he's already, you know, he's already fine. But it's really not. Like, these guys are actually doing what I think the system intended, and that's living in America and adding on to the ladder and actually contributing. So it just, it is something like, you know, some people do just want to actually cheer for Kelazhur because he's not come from Korea at all, and he has been on the up and up for the last 4 years. We cast him first at Copa America, the smaller Copa America. And,
Kelazhur is my favorite story of a player, by the way. Like, just
Yeah.
throw that out there.
Yeah, whereas Violet, as at one point was a powerhouse and is getting to that powerhouse status again, but not quite yet.
I would actually love to talk about what's been going on in this game. So Kelazhur did go for a 2-Rex opening, pretty standard, like going for a fast stim and everything. But also note that Kelazhur is one of those players that has a lot of practice versus Hydra, who is a really, really good Zerg player, and that does make his TvZ a little bit more fearsome. But Violet just has such a weirder style of ZVT. I think like the high queen style is something that's definitely become a little bit more popular with players like True and everything. So I wonder how prepared Kelazhur is going to be for this. Is this something that he has a lot of practice against?
I would hope so. He plays in enough European stuff, but not a ton. You don't see him constantly, but I think enough that he would know what's going on here. It is going to be a lot of queens. Ling upgrades for Violets. It's a very typical looking TvZ. Kelazhur is, unfortunately, his pressure not really doing too much yet, but he didn't lose the units, which is always the most important part. And he is going for the macro follow-up.
Yeah. Lair's definitely going to be coming out a little bit later on for Violet, though, so it's not going to be any super fast tech-ups to Spire or anything. It really is just relying on the queens.
That was a big blood splatter. Look at that, what am I got? Oh, 12 kills. It's pretty good. So, combining forces here, there are two options. Either continue dropping left and right, or combine forces and try and pounce on an unexpected Zerg player. Violet does not have a Baneling Nest, but I see the Queen's Focus Fire plus a Ling Surround is usually good enough. And they do have upgrades, so...
But this Creep Strike cleanup is really, really nice for Kelazhur. I do think that Creep Strike is becoming that one more important thing in the matchup that was forgotten for a while because we saw all these European Zergs going for roaches and that sort of style instead. But especially with queens in the mix, having good creep spread, in addition to having it for the Banelings, is really important. But he just hasn't been able to get it going.
Yeah, it's been so long since we've seen the rise of queens that you're right, there was a time where creep spread was forgotten. You know, we would jokingly bring up Scarlet, who at the time wasn't playing that often, and be like, well, what is she going to be good at now? Of course, she's still good and she's come back, but it's definitely come back to something super, super important. It cleans up faster, it spreads faster. I think I like it a lot more this way, but it is still very important to have. Banelings are on the way, 15 of them. Kelazhur cannot focus fire these down quick enough.
Well, they don't have such of a hook, so technically I think he could just try and kite it for days, but it is going to be a bit of a dicey situation if he gets too far into creep or overcommits. But that's the nice thing, the creep's not that far, like, he has a lot of room to work with.
Oh, it's always gonna be dangerous, but he wants to try and snipe the queen. In the process, though, might lose his medevacs and has to pick up. There's another medevac. Doesn't scout the lair yet, and well, I mean, he knows the lair is probably done. It's around that time. It's more like, will he ever scout the secondary tech? Will Violet ever go for secondary tech, whether it's Infestation Pit or Aspire. He should eventually, but I think he's really trying to push Kelazhur all the way back first.
Yeah, do you feel like the Infestation Pit play and just skipping Spire entirely is just considered like a really greedy play, or do you think it's a pretty like safe thing to do at this point?
I think it's a pretty safe thing to do, actually. Oh, there's a lot of chaos going everywhere, though. Queen's gonna be on top of those medevacs. Marines can't run away from the banelings in time.
Ooh.
This does get cleaned up and only kills 5 SCVs. It looks like it could go worse, but in the process, losing your frontline units, that's the additional thing that can happen with run-bys that you often don't think about. Terrans cannot look away from a Zerg army, especially when they're on creep.
Yeah, and not just losing the Marines, but also losing a lot of those medevacs in the process. That really does hurt, especially the ability to just continue to put on pressure in multiple angles. Kelazhur's going to continue to try and stim on in over here, but there's still a couple of banelings around. And finally, Centrifugal Hooks is going to be finishing up.
Yeah, that took, I feel, a lot longer than other games. That seemed to be not in play for a very long time. Drops against the Zerg player is usually not going to do a whole lot, and it doesn't. Oh dear. Oh,
Nice
quick.
race on the depots, and now the Widow Mines are down, so there's no escape. Although it might kill some of the SCVs if not careful.
Yeah, 5
Cleans
gone
it up.
down.
Safe.
Yeah.
Safe, yeah. Auto!
Thanks to DBdo for the 7-month resub. 58.3% of the way to a Partouf.
Oh man, he mathed that shit?
Yeah, he mathed it.
I'm not verifying that on stream, and neither are you,
Ooh.
Fear Dragon.
So,
I'm great at math on stream. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know what you guys
The one shot that part too. Am I right?
So, the way that Violet is
it's
playing... Sorry, go ahead.
No,
that was
you
a
wanted to actually
good
talk about the game. This is a
No,
rare
no,
occurrence. Let's
no.
do this.
This is the first
The way
time-
Violet is playing.
No, this is the first time I hear Fear Dragon talk off topic. Come on.
I know, it's a revelation in both regards.
So the 4th expansion in the bottom left is really surprising to me because, I mean, it's not that so surprising, but like Frost is a really hard map when you take your 4th expansion because in these spawns, you expand so far away from yourself that drops just become so hard to deal with.
Kappa Ross ruined.
The unfortunate thing, though, is that the other base to take gets you closer to a pushing Terran. And what I was going to remark on, initially, oh, right to the face.
Oh.
I was going to remark on initially is that Violet has played, his structures are familiar, his bases are familiar, but the timings on all of them are pretty bad. Like, at first I was going to mention the Centrifugal Hooks, okay, like they're a little bit later, but whatever. But his Spire comes down after waiting so damn long. I really thought it was going to be an Infestation Pit. And like his 4th base was pretty late, I think, in the grand scheme of things. It's not even droned quite yet. Kelazhur, he has an army supply, and a really good one, against Violet's still pretty bare bones, only crowned army. At least he has upgrades on them. Give him that much. Base trade? Maybe?
Never base trade a Terran player when you only have Lings and Banelings?
Yeah, I was gonna say, usually this can go in favor of the Zerg, because if they do have Banelings prepared on creep, then the Terran can't rush in. Oh, there come the Banelings now!
He's getting some pretty good trades over here. He's going to be able to clean up a large chunk of the Marines and should be able to defend back at home. Kelazhur does the same, but his 3rd expansion was completely ravaged and loses 21 workers in the process.
He has a 4th base, though, so that's 4 SCVs at a time. His army is survives. I mean, he took, you know, Banelings to the face here, but they're Banelings, so they trade, plus Kelazhur just had a bigger army to begin with, so still with a 40 army supply lead. Liberator's already out to deal with mutas. If they do, suddenly gets too hard to deal with. Oh, Jesus, that could have been worse. I'm glad that is at Lings instead of Banelings, actually. But I think Kelazhur still is in a very good position in this game. I think he's in a winning position if he does everything correctly, which is difficult, but possible.
Oh god, Banelings are splitting on Widow Mines.
Yeah.
Normally you see it the other way around.
Yeah.
Well,
3-3.
that's supply count. Oh, there's a 3-3, but that's supply count. I mean, just look at the army value right now. Even if there was like 1 Baneling for every Marine, it still wouldn't be enough.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, it's not that Kelazhur played a super great game. It's that Violet almost feels a little unpracticed with the defensive Baneling style.
It's funny though, because this whole thing, you add Mutas to the equation, like this is actually killing some other Terrans straight up, because like everyone's so used to playing against other styles. But it's not working here. The Widowmine's going to burrow. They won't. Oh, maybe one miraculous hit. It is a pretty good hit.
Everything came so late. It's like Violet did everything that every other Zerg is doing, but at a later time. And it's, I really don't think it's because Kelazhur was so good with his pressure.
The pickup was really slick from Kelazhur, by the way. Really like that. But while he doesn't load the Marines, Liberator comes in. There's not really anything left to defend. And while Kelazhur didn't rally, should he bring these reinforcements in? I mean, even the Mutas are going to struggle. There's a medevac per Marine here. GG gets called. Kelazhur with game number 1. And hello Zergling with a 23-month resub. East Hoy!
Yep. That wasn't too convincing by Violet. That actually reminds me so much of the last series, though, that I believe Violet will be able to bring it back in game number 2 and 3. He didn't look very strong at all versus Ake and versus Protoss in the first game. Looked even confused with that first game. This game was just more like way overly defensive. Well, not overly defensive. Zergs are defensive nowadays, but not.
It just felt like delays, right?
Delayed,
and it's not that he necessarily. It's not like he wasn't spending his money or anything. But he was sitting on even hatchery attack, I felt like, for a little bit longer than you normally see. Not like substantially longer, just a little bit longer. And then the Baneling Nest came in after the push was already happening. And like, you already had a ton of Marines sitting at the front, cleaning up a lot of the creep spread. And he was relying on like these queens, which honestly did a pretty decent job. Like, Kelazhur ended up losing some of his medevacs. He lost a lot of his Marines. But ultimately, like, I think Kelazhur was okay. You know, I think this is something that you've talked about with me before, where you say like, oh, Terran player, it's important that you do not lose those Marines because they add into the push later on. But in this case, I kind of felt like that pressure ended up working out rather well because Violet was making so many Banelings and was delaying his, like, I don't know if that was the reason why he ended up having that delayed lair tech, but I feel like if that is the case, then that aggression ended up working out quite well for Kelazhur because then Violet just wasn't prepared for round 2.
But that's the risk, right? Like, it's got risk, it's got reward to it. That time it had reward. I just see well more often than not it doesn't. But either way, great first game out of Kelazhur, and really glad to see him coming out of the gate strong. But starting here in the bottom right, this is the guy who's really got a lot of emphasis on these qualifiers. Remember, guys, he's tied for 8th place, and 8th is the cutoff. So still not even guaranteed his spot to BlizzCon. In the lower right side, it's the pink Zerg player, Violet.
Fear Dragon.
And in the top left, the red Terran player from Root Gaming, originally from Brazil, but living in the United States. Give it up for Kelazhur.
Woo! And of course, if Kelazhur takes the 2-0 here, it's the winner's bracket still. So Violet's got an entire bracket to fall back to. But for our fans asking in chat about Fear Dragon casting, yes, he will actually still be here. But Zombie and I will be leaving after this best of 3 concludes. So, yay, Fear Dragon!
Yay! I have really bad breath, so I'm actually scaring them away.
Well, it's funny. We have there's a definite split down the middle of our fans sometimes. And I say our fans, I should say our viewers, because some of these people are definitely not our fans, where people love mine and Zombie's off-topic style and maybe don't like the fact that you don't go off-topic. Then there's people who love, like we're seeing right now in chat, you who focus on the game opposed to what we do. So I guess it is kind of nice having that mix, and sometimes we can swap out casters here and there, give everyone something that they like.
Yeah,
but,
it's too bad that Dragon Ball Z never taught us a 3-way Archon mode, like fusion dance.
Bro, I'm sorry, but I'm never doing a Devil's Threesome with you. It's not gonna happen.
Devil's Threesome.
Oh,
Wait,
that was
Devil's
that
Threesome is when there are 2 gentlemen involved, Zombie Grub.
Okay. Anyway.
So 3 Racks Reaper coming out from
Speaking of
Kelazhur. It's
threesomes.
a great map to actually do this on, and it's really, really common. And I'm almost surprised now when Zerg players, especially against like any North American Terran player or European Terran player like Uthermal, don't just go spawning pool first on this map.
Yes.
I am wondering though, like, this is a good move for Kelazhur because he's up 1 in the series. Frozen Temple's a map you can make it work on. And we do see so many Zerg players struggle to deal with this. I actually, it might just be a 2-0 depending on how Violet reacts. I mean, this first Reaper is not the red herring. It's not that alarming. In fact, the Overlord scouting the natural base and seeing no natural is going to be more alarming than anything else.
Yeah, now he knows.
Yeah,
Sure.
instantly throws down that Roach Warren, and that
Yeah,
is
good
the
moves.
way that most Terran players feel like is the right way to respond.
Yeah, the Ravager auto attack just has so much value
Oh.
to it. Oh, I love the way he just
Oh
micro
my
those Reapers
God.
around, and he almost gets a double kill on the Lings with a grenade. Still chases them down, but has to run away from the Queens. Either way, even just picking up Lings here is kind of big.
So close to using the Reaper though, and that would not have been worth it. But really nice by Kelazhur.
I love watching Kelazhur's Reaper control. I think that is honestly like his spirit animal, and it's this hard grain micro style that got refined by playing from Brazil with 300 ping. If you can play and use Reapers effectively with 300 ping, you can do it with 20.
Queens are about to go down. That's a pretty big defensive setup. While Roaches are on the way now, there's nothing to take the drones to the natural. I'm surprised he sent drones to the natural, in fact. That's some overconfidence.
Oh!
What the hell?
He ran
Okay.
into his own
Oopsie.
grenade.
It happens. It happens. It's Terran after all. We're all about friendly fire and self-hurt. Zombie up earlier, telling us the lore of Reapers. They are crazy after all.
They are, yeah. Only the craziest will take the job. I can't believe Violet's droning. I can't believe he put drones in the natural. Can't believe he's still droning now. She's got 4 more. He thinks Ravagers are going to be the key, and while they are, they can still get overwhelmed. Like, it's still dangerous.
Ravagers chasing off of Creep definitely gets into the dangerous territory that you were talking about. Looks like they are going to be on the retreat for now, and Kelazhur's still making Reapers. He is getting going for the expansion behind this. Actually throwing down a no, it is just his natural expansion. Okay.
If Kelazhur is being a little more aggressive, trying to hop up and down and abuse the ramp, I think he takes out the Ravagers. But he's being conservative because he is macroing, getting a 3rd CC now. And he probably figured this wouldn't be all of the units. It actually is. Violet's very much so trying to find that perfect point of just barely defense and back into macro. Because the other problem with this build is that we see a lot of Zerg players over-dedicate to Roaches, right? And then they can't counterattack and they just fall behind with the 3rd base.
I mean, I really like the 3rd CC touches for Kelazhur. This is something where you could argue dedicating would have been worth it. You could argue the Reapers would eventually have ROI, or maybe it's too big of a risk. But I like that he didn't decide to go for like 4 barracks, and that he actually did the 3rd CC instead.
Yeah. Thanks to Nightshade SC2 for the 513 sub. There's that high ground I was talking about. Not quite super abusive, and he doesn't want to sack his Reapers for the drones, as tempting as that might have looked. They're on his only defense right now, and can be a great addition for the follow-up push. Ooh, let's flash. Ooh.
You know, I'm really liking that 3rd CC choice more and more as time goes on, because I realize if you have your Reaper control this well refined, you're like doing a good job keeping at least some of the Reapers alive to put. Okay, as I say this caster curse, Kelazhur sacrifices so many of his Reapers. He gets a lot of kills. I was gonna say, like, it's sort of nice because the 3rd CC delays the starport, but it doesn't matter. You don't really need that medevac coming out really quickly to put on the pressure if you're keeping your Reapers alive.
Well, plus the damage he did early on, the fact that there isn't a 3rd base down, this isn't like when Beyond pushes with the double medevacs. There's no necessity to do that damage. You've already dealt it to an extent.
Even gonna, oh, no. Doesn't quite keep the Scouting Reaper alive.
It kind of sucks, to be honest. Like, those grenades with the follow-up push can be very important, but even without him, I think Kelazhur has a very powerful stim timing coming up here. Violet does not have a ton of army, and he just made more drones. It's a little scary for him.
Do you even feel like he should be pushing out that early, or do you think that it would make more sense to sit back on your 3 CCs and power up on economy a little bit further, get down more production?
Push whenever you have medevacs. There's no reason not to against Zerg. They rarely get mutas nowadays, too.
Well, Violet did actually that.
He took him forever, though.
Yeah, it's funny that that's the way that went. But with so many Roaches this game, you're right. Like, there's not going to be mutas to stop you, not at least so easily. That's where you really rely on that heavy queen count, which Violet, once again, doesn't really have. He's on 5 queens. It's about moderate.
Well, one thing that Violet may have eventually a little bit faster is that Carapace upgrade, but that's gonna be a really far ways away when he's defending against this kind of aggression. Medevacs and Marines coming on in, and the problem is, even if he realizes he can't really do anything about this 3rd, he can pick up and go to the main base. It's gonna be totally undefended.
He's trying to get overlords now. It's like his goal. He does get them.
Oh my god. He's done a lot of overlords with
Oh.
supply blocking.
Of course, Violet skips speedlings, so not the quickest reactions to drops either.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. He had it researching earlier on. I guess he
Yeah,
canceled
you
it when he
wanna-
threw down the Roach Warren.
Yeah, you want to cancel it. So this is going to be an even bigger problem.
Oh boy.
Yeah, once combat shields are done, he's gonna start taking really good trades against these roaches as they trickle in. Violet's losing now, more now than he was versus the Reapers, but still, a lot of it's a consequence of the Reapers.
Oh, one of those Medivacs is very low on health. He cannot send it that close to the Queens. He does end up paying the price for it, but I mean, he's already done a lot of damage. That third has not been mining at all this entire time. Gets another Overlord supply box, Violet again.
Yeah. Zone 3 CC down, and Violet really can't do much about it. Now without, you know, Ling speed, much less Roche speed, and the layer's only halfway done.
So in this position as Violet, what do you do? Do you just try and like take a big, you have to take a risk in some way. Do you take the economic risk and just try and drone up, hope your opponent's not gonna pressure you? I feel like that's less likely with a player like Kelazhur. You'd probably want to just try and get out some way to take a really, really good engagement, but how do you do that?
Oh, you can't really. No, I think the play is to play as safe and not risky as possible, so maybe even middle of the road, which is usually not the Zerg's ideal drones and army. Because I think if you can get to Infestors and Ravagers, that's the ultimate, like, I'm holding on for dear life composition. That's the only way that Snoot has come back from this type of position, for instance. Kelazhur is going to look to make sure he can't even afford to go for an Infestation Pit. Hits before the Spore Crawler is finished. It was bad.
Yeah, gets right in there. There's an SCV in here, by the way. Feels bad,
So
man.
repair those Medivacs.
Right, he's R2D2 in the X-Wing.
Upgrades are not quite done for the bio, so he'd be taking
he
better
pulls-
trades if it was.
He also pulls too many drones away. He thought like the 3 would hold it up, but that's not the case as he went to preemptively get on top of the drop in the main. It gets over here. Drones keep dying. Down to 34 workers remaining. We're reaching that territory where even if Violet cleans this up, he might be too far behind.
Oh, 1-1 finished. He's taking really good trades with Roaches now.
Folks fire on the Ravager as well. Nothing to shoot those Medivacs whatsoever.
Oh, even microing back individual Marauders over here, keeping those units alive for as long as possible. And Violet
playing really well right now.
Violet didn't even just clean that up and like, okay, cool, now I can go for the counterattack. He's lost a lot of his army supply in his defense too.
Yeah.
Transfuse is proven to be a little bit too annoying, so the Medivac and the Marauders are going to have to disengage.
Where's that SCV now? This is where he needs to shine.
Right. Kel's gonna get hit on upgrades. Of course, tanks now being very, very fearsome. He has a winning army with this push, should everything go correctly.
I mean, Medivacs are like the bane of Roaches because Roaches have a lot of damage, but the attack's so slow. Medivacs easily heal that damage up in time. So, I mean, these are nowhere close to out of energy. There's a lot of stims still available, a lot of healing to be done. And of course, now we got tanks being shuffled on the front line. This is not going to go well for Violates.
Oh, one sad little corrosive vial.
Right? 2-2 is also bound to finish up at some point, so if this trades out for 5 minutes back and forth, yeah, it wouldn't matter. GG! Kelazhur, ladies and gentlemen, will take the series and advance on in the winner's bracket. But if you're a Violet fan, don't be too sad too quick. He still has a loser's bracket he can try and come back from.
Much longer road, but still available for him. This also ends the cast for Rifkin and I.
Yeah, so what's going to happen here is we're going to transfer this over. Fear Dragon will be covering the rest of the qualifiers on his own. And for those who don't know, and for Fear Dragon as well, just to reaffirm, the winner's bracket finals and the loser's bracket finals will not play tonight, but they will stop at that point and play up to that point. So tomorrow, if Fear Dragon wants to come back, he's more than welcome. It all depends on timing, of course, because he has work. But those matches will finish out then. So for us, we're done. Zombie Grub, thank you so much for once again carrying the cast. Can't wait till I can start streaming again. We do have to get to bed, essentially, as we'll be back at 3 a.m. tonight with the Alima League. And I hope to see many of you guys return there. Treat Fear Dragon with respect. Give him some love. Mods, make sure to take care of chat. And guys, I guess just for my sake, quickly, sponsor shout out. G2A, Yord, Chairs for Gaming, Corsair, all that awesome links. Those awesome links are down below. The Amazon affiliate links. If you shop on Amazon, help you help us by clicking on those links. And then last but not least, the new widget proving without a shadow of a doubt that Zombie Grub and I are barely Bronze League at best.
It's true.
So thanks for watching. We'll play some ads. We'll swap out, and we'll see you guys soon.
Well, Fear Dragon will.
Well, we'll
Bye
see
forever.
So we'll see you. Bye forever.
Bye forever.